Okay, coffee. Is it good? Is it bad? It's something that I've always wondered. I love my coffee so much, I was almost a little afraid to dig in and do some research. So, what I've done for you is I've gone and done all the research, gotten all the articles, all the data, all the studies that I can find. I've pulled all that data in together and I've gotten AI to produce a little bit of a slideshow based on just the data that I looked up and read through myself and recognize as being credible data to put all of this together for you. So we'll go through the history, of course, to begin with. What is it? The types of coffee. It's very interesting, actually. Biblical links. Are there any? Health benefits. What is the bad? What is the things about coffee that is not good for us? Are there any at all? And then I'll wrap that all up for you at the end. So let's jump right into coffee, my big my big staple. So first of all, coffee, it's not actually a bean. We always think of coffee beans, coffee beans. Well, coffee itself is not a bean, it is a fruit. And it's a small reddish, purplish berry in its natural state. And inside the berry is the seed of that fruit. And so, of course, we call them coffee beans, and I'll refer to them loosely as coffee beans because it's familiar, even though technically that's not what it is. And so just a little bit of data there for you. Two coffee beans in one fruit, sometimes only one, called a pea berry. And I know you can get pea berry coffee. It's supposed to be a higher quality of coffee. I didn't look at a lot of data for that. You can always pursue that further if you want to. So, of course, I love going straight to Scripture. Where does coffee fit in with Scripture? And, of course, very first chapter of the Bible, one of my favorites, Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. It says 29 to 30 here, but we don't need 30 because that talks about the more like the grasses and herbs of the field that are for animals to eat at the beginning anyway. And so, of course, I'll read it out to you. And God said, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you it shall be for food." There you go. There is the coffee cherry right there. But we'll get into how that might have been consumed in a little bit of time here. If we look about the history of coffee, and when I talk about that, we're talking about when we were consuming coffee as a coffee drink, where we took the seeds, where we roasted the seeds, where we crushed the seeds, where we percolated coffee, we made espresso, we made all sorts of coffee drinks. When did all that begin? And so there's a story out of Ethiopia about a goat herd that noticed goats seemed energized by eating these red berries, and that's when coffee was discovered. And we'll talk a little bit later and find out that indeed the cherries themselves, the pulp of the cherry, does have some caffeine in it, along with some other health benefits as well. So, of course, jump ahead to the 15th century, way, way later, like thousands of years later, then it began to be cultivated as the drink that we tend to know today, spread through the Ottoman Empire, which was quite large at one time, and of course reaches Europe in the 17th century, and then going forward after that, it starts getting grown in different places in different ways, and voila, here we are today. Very simply, very easily, two types of coffee mostly, and that's more than 90% of the coffees. Arabica coffee and Robusta coffee. What's the difference between the two? The Arabica coffee, it's a milder, more flavorful coffee. I like that one the best. It's a smoother tasting coffee. I don't particularly like the really strong and bitter and harsh tasting coffees. And the thing about Arabica coffee, it's a bit harder to grow. It has to be at more elevation. It needs cooler temperatures. It's more delicate, more vulnerable because of that, of course. A couple of countries, Latin America and Eastern Africa. Less caffeine than Robusta coffee. Makes sense if it's milder compared to the stronger Robusta. and it's usually used in the specialty and premium coffees, probably why I like it so much. And shade-grown varieties prize for quality. They'll actually grow fruit trees, taller fruit trees over top of the Arabica coffee plants to give them shade, and then farmers can double up by having the other fruit crop as well as the coffee fruit crop. So the Robusta coffee, on the other hand, again, very, very strong coffee, and it could be grown at sea level, so much easier to grow. It's more pest resistant, twice as much caffeine content, good or bad, that's for you to decide for yourself. Predominant in Africa and Southeast Asia, lots of Asian countries growing lots of Robusta coffee these days, and cheaper to produce, right? And we can see where that's always going when that happens. Used in espresso blends because it's stronger, and instant coffee, very easy to do, easy to make, and it's usually deliberately dark roasted. I think part of that is because it's lower quality coffee, and because it's such a strong taste, they dark roast it. Maybe to hide the lower quality, I don't know. But anyway, those are the two main differences, Arabica and Robusta. So if you just see Robust written on something, it's probably Robusta beans. So I always look for the Arabica beans. So more links, biblical, religious kinds of links. Ethiopia tends to be what's agreed as the origins of it. I won't go into a lot of detail here. In the Islamic world, it was very popular, but then they said, well, it's intoxicating, so we shouldn't. But they liked it so much that they kept it. Then, of course, they actually got one of the popes to try to ban it because of the association with Islam. But apparently he liked it so much that he said, actually, no, you know what? We really like this. We're going to keep it. And we like it, and so with the Pope's blessing, it spreads across Europe, of course. All right, health benefits of coffee. This is the part that I was looking for, and very relieved to find some of these data. Heart health. Okay, moderate intake linked to 19% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality and 30% lower risk of stroke mortality at 3 cups a day. People say, oh, just have 1 a day, just have 2 a day. But no, 3 cups a day is great. That tends to be classifies as the heavier side. Usually when you get to 4 cups or more, can be more benefit, but that increased benefit is reduced. So 3 seems to be the prime amount. And of course, all this data here came from an umbrella study that was done that looked at 201 different meta-analyses, and this was done back in 2017, which is fairly recent for a lot of these studies. Some studies haven't been, they were done back in the 70s and no one's looked at it again since. So anyway, brain and neurological, okay, lower risk of Parkinson's disease, great. And that's at all exposure levels, 1 cup, 2 cups, 3, 4. Lower Alzheimer's disease, 27% reduction. That's almost a third reduction in Alzheimer's disease risk by drinking coffee. Awesome, right? What else? Depression. Depression is reduced. Right? Improved cognitive function. This is fantastic news, everybody. Cancer prevention. All right, cancer prevention. 18% lower risk of all cancers. All cancers. And specifically protective against prostate cancer, which men, especially men getting, my age 50 plus, have a higher risk of. Endometrial, melanoma, so you got your skin cancers, oral cancers, skin again, mentioned already, and liver cancers, which is great. Our liver is such a big processor and has a big role in all of our digestion. So good news to know that, because the liver is such a vital organ for our health. And again, it talks about liver health, and liver health, the strongest benefit category, 39% lower risk of liver cirrhosis through coffee consumption, and 29% lower NAFLD risk. I had to look that up to remind me, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's a reduced risk there. Again, almost a third reduced risk. Consistent protective effect for liver fibrosis and chronic liver disease. Again, great news. Overall metabolic health. Now, our metabolism is all important for everything. Everything starts in the gut, and our metabolism feeds from that digestive process in our bodies. 30% lower risk of type 2 diabetes. Awesome. High versus low. That's high versus low, so higher, at a higher level of coffee consumption, 30% lower. Lower risk of metabolic syndrome, gallstones, gout, and renal stones. All right, so no stone production, or much lower stone production through coffee consumption. Longevity, okay, who wants to live longer? Yeah, me too. All right. Drinking coffee associated with 17% lower all-cause mortality. Everything, all-cause mortality at 3 cups a day. Benefits seen with both caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee. So decaffeinated coffee, of course, has more processing, lower caffeine, but there's other benefits, obviously, inside coffee that's not just the caffeine side of it. This is fantastic news. Okay, there's got to be some negatives, right? Let's look at the negatives. General risk, sleep disruption. Well, obviously, caffeine gives you a much higher energy boost, and it has, when they talk about half-life, approximately 5-hour half-life, stays in the system up to 10 hours. So afternoon coffee, they say, can impair sleep. Well, that's fine. Once you get to close to mid-afternoon, don't drink coffee anymore. Have it in the morning, have it at lunchtime. I'll go up to anywhere up to about 3 p.m. and then that's where I'll make a switch. If I still want some coffee later, I'll switch to a decaf. Anxiety and jitters. Yes, coffee can get you going. It's high energy. So, of course, if you're a sufferer of high levels of restlessness, nervousness, anxiety, then don't drink coffee at all, or just have lower quantities of coffee. It's going to be an individual choice always. So go ahead and follow it based on what fits for you. Digestive issues. Coffee can irritate the stomach lining, causing acid reflux or heartburn, especially on an empty stomach, and acts as a mild laxative. So sometimes a mild laxative, that's not bad. It keeps the body going. But if you do have issues in the gut, go ahead and take steps to heal your gut. Get the right kind of foods, the right kind of supplements. There's a lot of supplements you can get to boost your metabolism. One of my favorites, protease from Digestive Enzymes, is one, and I take that with and without food. And Digest as well, that I take from the same company, and I take probiotic as well, also from Transformation Enzymes. These things all help heal the gut, help digest the food, help boost the metabolism. Coffee doesn't cause me issues because of that. Caffeine dependence, yes. If you keep drinking coffee every day, you become dependent on it. Mostly because it becomes a habit. Because I can stop drinking coffee and it's like, I don't go crazy and I have to have it, but I will get what they call a coffee headache. So if I don't drink any coffee tomorrow, I may get a headache in the afternoon. And if I go again the next day, I may get a headache again, and then that'll be it. It'll be done. My body's just gotten used to it, and it's just saying, hey, I want this, and it's giving me a trigger sign. It's no big deal. The easiest thing to do, if you get that coffee headache, have a coffee, unless for some reason you're not drinking it for some other reason. Otherwise, get through the coffee headache, and then you will be fine. For women especially, pregnancy risk. And the reason for this is that when you consume certain things, it is concentrated and magnified going into the placenta. So the unborn baby might be getting way more caffeine than even you're consuming. It's concentrating in there. And so it's suggested to reduce the quantity. And even here it says, reduce it to 1 to 2 cups per day. So if you're in that situation and you want to just make sure optimal fetal health, you might want to reduce the coffee intake. Okay, is there a difference between men and women? Yes, there is. There are subtle differences, but there are differences. Number one, negative impact for women is a higher risk of bone fracture for whatever reason, just to do with the way men and women are made, with the strength of their bones. 14% increased fracture risk for women. Mostly, though, this is linked with women that maybe have signs of osteoporosis. If they have a low mineral bone density, which you can do things to test. So just be aware of that. For men, actually, there's a decreased risk of fracture. So somehow for men, it actually benefits the strength of our bones. So for the guys, we get the point on that one. Cardiovascular benefits. Women may benefit more than men with higher coffee consumption for their cardiovascular health compared to men. Even though there's no real negatives for men, it's just that women get a slightly higher benefit. So there's a point for women. So 1 point each so far. Cancer protection. There is a benefit to both men and women, and because men and women tend to get different types of cancers, there's different impacts on that. But again, both lower risk of different cancers. Great, that's a tie for that one. And so, of course, there's a warning here for women: low calcium intake or osteoporosis risk they should be cautious about that. And it just says, add milk to your coffee to get more calcium. Well, I love milk or sometimes cream in my coffee, so that's great for me. So women, they go ahead and do that. That can help prevent some of that fracture risk. So it's looking good, but yeah, as you can see, there's a couple of differences between men and women. So overall conclusion here, and then I'm just going to talk a bit about the coffee fruit itself, just to add a few extras that I didn't have in the slides. All right, coffee. It is rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory and anti-fibrotic properties, which is typical of foods in God's food chart. God's food chart contains a list of foods that God created for us, specifically for our health, that are rich in antioxidants, that are anti-inflammatory, that benefit our heart, benefit our brain, which, as we mentioned before, right? It protects our liver, in all types of things, including cancer, fibrosis, cirrhosis. Fantastic. Cardiovascular disease, we get benefits there. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and several cancers. Fantastic. Decaf coffee still has similar benefits for many of these outcomes. So the health benefits aren't just to do with the caffeine. It's to do with the other benefits, the vitamins and minerals and anti-inflammatory properties and antioxidants that are present in the coffee fruit itself. Again, pregnant women should be careful to maybe decrease. And if they are at higher risk of bone fracture, again, be careful of that as well, and maybe supplement your calcium. Now, this conclusion includes drink black coffee wherever possible. Avoid high sugar specialty drinks. You should always do that anyway. You can go to some coffee places, I won't mention any names, where you can get one large coffee drink that has like 1,000 calories in it. You could get by on 1,000 calories for a whole day and it would be plenty of calories. So be careful of that. Cream, I think is okay. Milk is okay, but adding sugar, not a good idea. Maybe a little bit of honey for something natural and a whole food if you really want something sweet. Or you can even do some kind of stevia leaf extract that has no calories and no impact on glycemic index. And of course, drinking it late at night may cause sleep disruptions, so limit that to earlier in the day. And so the last thing I mentioned will be about the actual coffee cherry itself. The coffee cherry itself is edible, a slightly sweet flavor, and some people compare it to watermelon or red currant kind of flavor. They are juicy cherries, not especially flavorful, which means also not high sugar, which is great. It can be a little bit fibrous. And of course, mostly they're now just used for the beans themselves. Although they are now using the pulp to make what they call a cascara tea or a cascara coffee, I've heard of. And that is gaining in popularity. The coffee cherries, of course, are rich in antioxidants and so great for our health. They have vitamins and minerals, and they have 8 times more antioxidants than blueberries. 8 times more. That's amazing. They support brain health. They boost the immunity. And there is some energy boost from natural caffeine content in the cherry, the pulp of the cherry itself. And so Adam and Eve probably would have had access to coffee cherries in the Garden of Eden for the period of time that they spent there. From Genesis 1:29, that would have been available. So they may very well have eaten from the cherries, but they probably wouldn't have had the knowledge or the means to roast the seeds and create the coffee that we know today. So, of course, we discovered that thousands of years later. But science shows us there are amazing benefits to consuming coffee, with just a few minor cautions we can pay attention to. So I'm so thankful that I can stick with my coffee and I still love it. I hope you do too. And you can now rest at ease knowing that you're doing some great things for your health by continuing to have coffee. And if you haven't, why not give it a try, knowing now that it can be great for your health and a benefit to your whole system and protection. And then longevity thing too. I mean, that longevity, if you're going to die at 80 by drinking coffee, you'll instead die at 90. Who doesn't want to live an extra 10 years? I mean, I do. So great. Coffee is the way to go. Bye for now.